Have you ever wondered what the most expensive mistakes in history were? Throughout the ages, human errors have led to disasters both big and small, but some stand out for their staggering costs. This is not about pointing fingers, but understanding the magnitude of consequences one mistake can lead to. Today, we'll be diving into a countdown of monumental blunders, the ones that shook the world and emptied bank accounts. So, buckle up as we embark on a historical journey through the 10 most expensive mistakes in human history. Kicking off at number 10, we have the sinking of the Titanic. The Titanic, an engineering marvel, was considered unsinkable when she set sail on her maiden voyage in 1912. This grand ship, a symbol of luxury and state-of-the-art technology, was constructed with a price tag of about $7.5 million, a sum that amounts to roughly $200 million in today's currency. Yet, the unsinkable met the unthinkable. An iceberg collision, a fatal dance of ice and steel, sealed the Titanic's fate. The aftermath was heartbreaking. Over 1,500 lives were lost, and the world was left in shock and sorrow. The financial loss was immense, but it paled in comparison to the human tragedy. The Titanic, once a symbol of human ambition, became a reminder of our folly. The Titanic, a symbol of human ambition and folly, sunk to the depths along with a fortune. At number 9, we venture into space with the Mars Climate Orbiter. A fascinating tale of a costly mistake. This story takes us back to 1999. The Mars Climate Orbiter, a $125 million spacecraft, was lost in space due to a simple yet devastating mix-up between metric and imperial units. Picture this. NASA's team used the metric system, a universal standard in scientific circles. However, the engineering team from Lockheed Martin, who built the orbiter, used the imperial system. This mix-up in units led to the orbiter being lost in space. It was a heart-wrenching moment for the space community, who had invested not just money, but years of hard work and dreams into the project. The loss of the Mars Climate Orbiter underscores the importance of communication and standardization in every field, and it serves as a stark reminder that even in the vastness of space, small mistakes can have astronomical consequences. A single conversion error led to a costly interplanetary blunder. Number 8 takes us back to the devastating stock market crash of 1929. The 20s were roaring with prosperity, but it all came crashing down in the fall of that year. In just 2 days, the Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped by nearly 25%. Investors lost fortunes overnight. This was not simply a Wall Street debacle. The ripples of this crash spread far and wide. The economic impact was unparalleled. Thousands of banks failed. Millions lost their life savings. The total wealth loss was estimated to be billions, an astronomical figure for the time. This crash marked the onset of the Great Depression, a decade-long economic slump that affected not just the United States but the entire world. Unemployment rates soared, reaching almost 25% at its peak. The stock market crash of 1929 was a stark reminder of the volatile nature of financial markets. A miscalculation in market dynamics led to a financial catastrophe. At number 7, we reflect on the tragic Challenger explosion. On a chilling January morning in 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart just 73 seconds into its flight. The world watched in horror as the shuttle, carrying a crew of 7, disintegrated over the Atlantic Ocean. But what led to this catastrophic event? The tragedy was attributed to 2 major factors: technical faults and the decision to launch despite unfavorable conditions. The technical fault lay in the shuttle's O-rings, which failed to seal due to the cold weather, leading to a breach in the solid rocket booster. The decision to launch was a result of managerial pressures and communication failures. The Challenger was a $5.5 billion spacecraft, a technological marvel of its time. Its loss was not only a devastating blow to space exploration, but also a heartbreaking financial disaster. A heartbreaking loss, both in terms of human lives and astronomical costs. Number 6 brings us to one of the worst man-made environmental disasters: the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. In 2010, an offshore drilling rig named Deepwater Horizon exploded in the Gulf of Mexico, leading to the largest marine oil spill in history. This wasn't just a blowout, it was a catastrophe that had far-reaching consequences. The explosion claimed 11 lives and injured 17 others. But the repercussions didn't stop there. The environmental impact was devastating. Millions of barrels of oil gushed into the ocean, causing untold damage to marine life and ecosystems. Beaches were smeared with oil, wildlife populations plummeted, and the fishing industry suffered a severe hit. But the environmental cost was just part of the story. The cleanup operation was a monumental task that took years to complete. The final bill for the cleanup and damages? A staggering $65 billion. An environmental and financial disaster that reminds us of the cost of negligence. At number 5, we delve into the world of finance with the collapse of Lehman Brothers. Once a titan of Wall Street, Lehman Brothers was a symbol of American prosperity. But behind the sheen, the firm was taking enormous risks. The pursuit of quick profits led to reckless investments in subprime mortgages. When the housing bubble burst in 2008, Lehman Brothers was left exposed and on the brink of bankruptcy. The financial fallout was catastrophic. Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy, erasing billions of dollars in wealth overnight. The total estimated loss was a staggering $691 billion, marking it the largest bankruptcy filing in history. But the damage didn't stop there. The collapse rippled through the global financial system, causing markets to tumble and economies to stall. This event was a significant trigger for the 2008 global recession. A financial gamble that triggered a global recession. The collapse of Lehman Brothers serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked risk in the world of finance. Number 4 takes us to the heart of one of the worst nuclear disasters in history, Chernobyl. On a fateful day in April 1986, reactor number 4 at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in the Soviet Union suffered a catastrophic meltdown. This was no ordinary accident. It was a calamity of unseen proportions that sent a radioactive cloud over much of Europe. The human cost was staggering, with many lives lost in the immediate aftermath and countless more affected by radiation sickness in the years that followed. Then, there's the environmental impact, which is still being felt today, with a vast exclusion zone that remains uninhabitable. But let's talk about the financial toll. The estimated cleanup and containment costs are mind-boggling, reaching upwards of $720 billion. This includes the construction of the new safe confinement, a massive steel dome built to encase the reactor and limit further radioactive contamination. A radioactive mistake that continues to cost us to this day. At number 3, we explore the dot-com bubble. This chapter of financial history began in the late 1990s at the dawn of the internet age. Investors, intoxicated by the potential of the World Wide Web, poured money into tech companies. Startups with no profits, no revenue, and sometimes no product achieved sky-high valuations. The promise of a digital future was dazzling, but the reality was far less glittering. As the new millennium dawned, the bubble burst. Countless dot-com companies went under, their lofty valuations evaporating overnight. The Nasdaq Composite, heavy with tech stocks, plummeted, signaling the end of the dot-com boom. The estimated loss? An eye-watering $1.7 trillion. The dot-com bubble serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of speculation and overvaluation. It was a time of innovation and growth, but also of recklessness and devastation. A digital dream turned nightmare with a price tag in the trillions. Number 2 brings us to the recent past with the subprime mortgage crisis. This financial disaster began to unfold in 2007 when risky lending practices came to a head. Banks had been handing out mortgages like candy at a parade, often to borrowers who were ill-equipped to handle the financial burden. This reckless lending inflated housing prices to unsustainable levels, creating a so-called housing bubble. When the bubble burst, it triggered a domino effect that led to the housing market crash. Millions of people lost their homes, and the damage didn't stop there. The fallout rippled through the global economy, causing stock markets to plummet and businesses to fold. The estimated loss? A staggering $7.8 trillion. Yes, you heard it right, trillion with a T. It was a financial catastrophe of epic proportions, a painful reminder of what can happen when greed overshadows prudence. A housing bubble burst that shook economies worldwide. At number 1, we arrive at the most expensive mistake in human history, World War II. This global conflict, ignited by a complex web of political alliances and territorial ambitions, has left an indelible mark on our shared human history. It was not just a war fought on battlefields, It was a war that reached into cities and homes, devastating communities and tearing families apart. The human cost of World War II is staggering. Over 70 million lives were lost, with countless others forever changed by the horrors they experienced. The war also left physical scars on our world that are still visible today. Cities were reduced to rubble, infrastructure was decimated, and cultural treasures were forever lost. But the cost of World War II isn't only measured in lives lost and buildings destroyed. The economic toll of the war is equally staggering. During its 6-year duration, the war cost an estimated $4.1 trillion, a figure that's hard to comprehend. When adjusted for inflation, that cost balloons to an astronomical $48 trillion in today's money. This unimaginable sum was spent on everything from weapons and vehicles to food and clothing for soldiers. It also includes the cost of rebuilding and recovery in the years following the war. World War II was a devastating mistake that changed the course of history and came with an unthinkable price. As we journeyed through these costly mistakes, we have seen the devastating impact of errors, miscalculations, and negligence. From the sinking of the Titanic to the subprime mortgage crisis, these blunders have left indelible marks on our history. They underscore the vital importance of precision, vigilance, and ethical decision-making. History is not just a record of past events, it's a rich tapestry of lessons waiting to be learned. Remember, the costliest mistakes are the ones we don't learn from. Until next time, keep questioning, keep learning,